So do you have any kind of process when you approach a redesign? Because you recently redesigned the Think Vitamin site.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was a completely different task. Yeah, it was. I mean, there's an awful. There was a wire. I mean, that was different because actually, Keir came up with a wireframe for that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Keir is because the difference with the new Think Vitamin is that it's sort of more based on a Tumblr type thing. You know, it's quick fire articles with a couple of features that stick at the top. But there's, so the idea is that any of us can post anything really. I might just post a couple of images I found on the net that have some really nice typography or something. I don't have to write much about it, just post it. It's supposed to be much more like that. So, but I got that was the sort of concept behind it, which Keir sort of came up with the Tumblr concept, and he had a sort of rough wireframe, which I sort of moved around and changed. But obviously on top of that, there was the fact that we were going to make that site responsive, which was another complete...
Yeah, so for the people watching that have never heard of responsive web design, how would you describe it?
Well, it's just it's a technique that I think Ethan Marco coined the phrase responsive design, responsive web design, and it's taking into consideration different devices like mobile devices like your iPhone or iPad or other things, and you can do it rather than necessarily having to design a mobile site. You can just pull the browser window down and just cite. Well, first of all, it's got to be a percentage-based fluid site, and then what also you do is use media queries. So as it squidges down, for example, you've got 3 columns, and originally they were all 33.3% each.
Right.
And then rather than it will still squidge down, and then you'll get to a point where you make the decisions here. So as a designer, you go, right, actually once it's down to about 700, it's starting to look a little bit too thin, and you just flick it to using a media query. You'll then say, you'll say I want the columns now to be 50% each.
Right.
So that it will only fit 2 columns in the space, and the third column will get pushed down to the underneath. You know what I mean? That's the sort of theory, but you have to think about it quite a lot, because you're going to lose, content's going to go in different places, and you can change the navigation style completely. Like we didn't think Vitamin, it's got like icons and stuff, and then as you pull it down, it just goes to a little list, and then when you get right down to a sort of phone device size, it's a little centralized list. It changes 3 times completely on the way down, and also I think there's a really good example of it. Seeing it in action is if you're viewing the site on an iPad. This site changes its design just by changing the orientation of the iPad. So if you're looking at it horizontally, you get a full width site that you would see on a normal desktop computer. But and this design-wise, just purely from an aesthetic point of view, I've sort of indented the main content, just because it's nice. It's the icons are in a certain place. I think it's over to the left, and then when you turn it round, because the iPad, obviously, when it's in portrait position, there's less space width-wise. What I did is, I've made a few changes there. So the Windows suddenly becomes less, the width is less, and I've said, for example, if whenever the window's less than 768, I want the icons to flip over to the right-hand side, and I don't want the indent of the main content anymore, so that fills out. And the design has responded to the viewport, and it's suddenly the design. When you just turn the iPad around, you're getting what hopefully I've created is a better experience for that size window.
Right. I didn't actually know that all those things were in that site. I'm gonna have to look at the code now. I had no idea.
Well, if you go to the bottom of the style sheet, it's all down there. Yeah.
Right. You can look at the media queries. Do you have any advice for people that are just starting out in design?
Yeah.
It's an intentionally vague question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd say, depend if you're talking about web designers here or any designers. Yeah, I mean, I guess I think that I think I've got sort of, in a way, really recent experience of just starting out in design. Because I just started out in web design, although I started as a designer like 12, 13 years ago. I only started out as a web designer 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And I think in what I did then, in order, I had to make the change to web because I got requests for web design, and I was having to turn them down. I was like, this isn't good.
Right.
And it's 2007 or 8, wherever it was at the time. I've got to learn web design. And the way I see it was actually, at least front end development in the CSS, HTML is just like part of. I'd say it's really just graphic designers' tools now. Mm-hmm. If you're a graphic designer, you pretty much got to know some web stuff, I mean, there's so much of, content, that we read now is consumed through the web. So, I think as a modern graphic designer needs to know, some web skills. Yeah. And that's what I felt anyway, and that's why I got a friend of mine to teach me the basics, and I took it from there. And I just worked at it really hard. I took on a couple of sites, did one for my friend who was in a band. Did a site for him, and I just worked in the evenings, and I just did a couple of sites, and I just put the hours in and learned how to build websites. And so I'd just say, to any young designers out there, I think, it's like basically work really hard, take on projects for fun. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'd say definitely take on projects for fun so you can really show what you can do. Because I think that's what I did. I mean, I love to do stuff for people who do music, because I'm into music. Right. I did their site, I did the best I could possibly do for them, and it was great because I actually got, it was that site I did for my friend Ollie, it was that site that the guys at Carsonified saw in our web gallery, and it was like my second site, I think.
Really cool.
And I'd say, just do some work you're really into, get it out there, and stuff happens.